Hello FNAFers, the spring has come and so did FNAF. And if you haven't kept up with the FNAF news recently, a while back Scott created an official FNAF news Twitter account, FNAF Scott Games, on which he posted a schedule for August leading up to FNAF's anniversary. And today, as a part of that list, Stillwell revealed a new project called Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic, coming next year. And here's what they tweeted along with the teaser. To see the future, sometimes you need to understand the past. A brand new original nightmare in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. Now, I think it is interesting how they worded that this will be a brand new original nightmare in the FNAF universe, which makes me think that perhaps this game or project will be somehow different from the other games before it, not just time-wise as hinted by the tweet and later in the teaser, but perhaps mechanically? Which, if so, would be really interesting. Also, I want to point out that so far it wasn't called a game, not on Twitter and not even in the Scott's interview. He did say that there will be another game by Stillwell, but that will be announced much later. But this specific project hasn't been called a game yet, which I think is quite weird.
Is there anything else you could hint at for the future? Any future titles or any little hints to get people excited for the future?
One of the good things is going to be coming from Stillwell, but that's going to be announced here in this same week that your interview is going to air. So I think that's it. In fact, I'm not sure if it was right before this or right after this.
Yeah,
it might have been right after this.
Yesterday.
Okay. And there is another game planned with Stillwell, but that's not going to be announced for a while yet. So I can't talk about that. But there is something down the pipe.
Okay.
even beyond what's being announced this week, there's something beyond, but I can't talk about that.
Now, onto the time. The tweet says that we need to understand the past, and if you stop the teaser at the right moment, you will see the year 1979, which is before even Fredbear's Family Diner was established. So we are going way back into the past, before the MCI, before the Springlock suits, before anything we have seen so far in FNAF. Back in FNAF VR 2, one of the posters we could get as a prize was Fall Fest 1970, which is the oldest date in the franchise so far, and it has been theorized that the Mimic came from Fall Fest, and considering it lasted at least until 1983 based on FNAF VR 1, and the whole clown theming in the teaser, I think this project will be the Fall Fest of 1979, or at least tell us about it, and will be the origin of the Mimic, or at least the year from which we'll be able to find out more about it. Now, onto the teaser visuals. First thing I want to point out to is the carpet, which reminds me a lot of the one from the 1980s horror classic, The Shining. And then at the end of the trailer, we see the name of the project appear, and the way it does and the way it looks reminds me of the old horror film logos, like 1973's The Exorcist. As for how it appears and how the letters slide into their places, reminds me a lot of the Stranger Things, which by itself is an nod to the classic horror films of the 70s and 80s. So it seems like Stillwell is really going for that style of those years. Now, onto the main attraction of the teaser, the Jack in the Box. In the teaser we see a music box, and as the camera gets closer to the box, we hear the same exact music we hear when winding up the Puppy's music box from FNAF 2. and then something peeks out of it seeming to be a clown animatronic, or at least something wearing a clown mask. This could be a new animatronic based on the Jack in the Box, or it could be the Mimic. For those who don't know, the Mimic is the main antagonist of the Tales from the Pit Plague books, and is the actor we see at the end of the Ruin DLC. And even though we never saw him wear a clown costume in the DLC, except the elephant one, he did in fact wear one in the books. And considering that they have the same glowing red eyes, the name of this project is Secret of the Mimic, and the project will probably take place or show the Fall Fest, where he probably came from. I think it would be a safe guess. I think it would be a safe guess that this is in fact the Mimic, or at least a version of him. In the middle of his face there is a slit, which could be just the way the mask is made, but what if the mask has faceplates just like Funtimes? If so, perhaps Funtimes were actually based on this clown character. Also, this mask with its slit reminds me of the official concept art posted on Reddit a while back of Chica, Freddy and Bonnie, where they looked more like real-life animatronic suits and similar to the Mimic suits from Ruin. Cause they also had slits on their stomachs and faces, which in fact were faceplates and I guess body plates, which complements the theory that perhaps this is the origin of the faceplate design used later in Funtimes. And while we are on the topic of concept arts, revealed a while back, which we had no idea what they were for, Funko a while back also had a lineup of FNAF merch based on a balloon and clown theme, and on the official promotional material of it there was an image of a carnival-like ticket, which fits perfectly into the idea of this game being about Fall Fest. As a side note, considering the whole music box thing here, I think it would be also a safe assumption that the puppet was inspired by the Jack in the Box animatronic, which is probably the Mimic. So yeah, tell me in the comments what you think of this video. What do you think will be in the Secret of the Mimic? And your theories on it. Or you can join my Discord servers in the description below and talk about it there. But for now, that's it. Subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my videos. Press that like button with a bell. And remember, I always come back.